Welcome into the Daily Dish. Jeremy Werner, Joey Wagner, and we know most of the Illinois basketball non-conference schedule, at least the big-time matchups, before we fill it in where some of the teams will be visiting Champaign. But Joey, let's rank the non-conference matchup possibilities. We know they will be in the Las Vegas main event. Baylor, UCLA, Virginia are the possible matchups. Illinois will play two of those teams. All very, very good programs, obviously. Illinois will play in the Jimmy V Classic against Texas, which is expected to be very good this year. Of course, the bragging rights game against Missouri, and then the ACC Big Ten Challenge game with Syracuse coming to Illinois. So let's rank these matchups from best to worst, or I guess best to least excited about. Do you want to go first here, Joey, with your top matchup?
Yeah, we should say we're just going to name all six, right? Because we don't know how it's going to turn out in Vegas.
Right.
So my number one is Baylor. Brad Underwood. It's like, I still feel like he in Indianapolis looked at them when they won and said, I want to be that. So now you got a little Spider-Man meme going on here. And I don't know if it's exactly a one-to-one, but Brad Underwood wants to look like Baylor. Baylor is a very good team. We're going to have a very fun, if it happens, Matthew Meyer angle there. I think that's the clear-cut number one, Jeremy.
Yeah, not only Meyer, but Dane Danger with his former team, right? So we got two former Baylor players likely to be in the starting lineup. They have to pick this one. Like if Illinois doesn't play Baylor in this, I'm going to be very, very disappointed. I get Baylor UCLA might be the most interesting matchup nationally, but give us Illinois Baylor at some point. LJ Cryer, Adam Flagler, Flo Thamba still there. Jonathan, I'm going to butcher your name, Chachamua, unbelievable defender. Keontae George, a freshman coming in, is really good. It's just a great program that should be in the conversation for a Final Four again. And Illinois has Baylor players on it. I love it. I think Baylor's got a great chance to win that kind of matchup, but I think it's a great test, great storylines. And I think that's what you want. That's what you want if you're an Illinois program. It gives you an opportunity to kind of go on the national stage right away. Okay, so we both agree there. Number one is Baylor. What's your number two, Joey?
Texas and New York City. I think that Texas is going to be really good. Another Big 12 matchup. I think that has the potential to be a really fun game. It's on a stage that's not, you're not going to be looking at, okay, if they win, they play this. This is just a straight up, come here, play a really high-level basketball game, and go about your merry way. I think that one's got a lot of potential to be really fun.
I'm going to stay in Las Vegas and go with UCLA. They returned a couple of guys from their Final Four team, Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell, who I love watching. And then they have a five-star kid, Amari Bailey, who could be, first-round draft pick lottery guy. So, ESPN's going to be so focused on that. And that's a great chance for Illinois, again, to kind of be in the mix and make a name for themselves. And if they beat UCLA, I think all of a sudden they're on people's radars. And to be honest with you, given some of the experience Illinois returns, but through the transfer portal with Meyer and Shannon and the talent they have, I feel like that's a game Illinois has a decent chance in early on. So I think that'd be a fun matchup. I would go Texas 3. Timmy Allen, Marcus Carr, Tyrese Hunter. It's an old team, but then you had Dylan Mitchell, who's a five-star prospect coming into Texas as well. That team's loaded. It was kind of an odd fit last year, but they're all coming back. So I think Texas, maybe it didn't pay off immediately as kind of the top 5 team they were supposed to be last year, at least in the preseason polls. They were still a really good team, but they get all those guys back basically. So I think it could be a pretty good year for them. After that, Joey, I'm going to go with Missouri. Because even though I can probably name 2 guys on that team, Isaiah Mosley, the transfer, who's fantastic from Missouri State, and Kobe Brown, who's like one of the only returners from last year, you just know that atmosphere. That game is always different. Throw out the records. I know it's cliche, but you can. So I would put Texas and Missouri next. How about you?
Yeah, I would take UCLA next. Amari Bailey is really, really fun to watch play basketball. And I'm with you. Tiger Campbell is awesome. He is awesome in the basketball. He's just kind of got that it factor that you don't want to not watch. And then I'm with you after that. Missouri, it's not the same as it has been, right? Like you lose a little bit of that Trent Frazier, DeMonte Williams fifth year against these guys. You lose Obviously, there was the Metro East connection for a couple of years and the back and forth that was. Missouri's reloading a little bit. Illinois is reloaded. So I don't know that you've got that straight up, hey, we played these guys a number of times. I'm sure Chester Frazier and Brad Underwood will make it a point to remind them of the importance of that. But just kind of where these programs are, I don't know I could shoot it up any higher than 4th. I'm going to close it out. Virginia's got a potential. Virginia would be number 5, Syracuse number 6. Those have potentials to be like kind of grinded out games, man. And that's maybe not the most optically pleasing grinded out games, but that potential exists.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Joey. I don't think either of those is a bad matchup. I mean, Virginia would have been a headline matchup the last couple of years, right? And our old friend Armand Franklin is at Virginia. Ben Vanderplas, we know from a couple of years ago with that Ohio scare. You get a big recruit in Jaden Gardner coming in. It's just a really good program. It's a great preparation for Wisconsin because they run basically the same stuff. And I think Syracuse, listen, it's not the matchup I would have wanted for Illinois. That would have been Duke or Florida State, most likely. I mean, Indiana, North Carolina, you knew that was going to be the matchup, but it's a different style. I think it's going to challenge Illinois. I actually think it's a good matchup for Illinois if the freshman point guards can handle that zone, because I think Coleman Hawkins, Matthew Meyer, Dane Danger, Ty Rogers can really do well against that. So the fact that we have Virginia and Syracuse is like the 2 lowest of these, Joey, I think that says is a pretty good, pretty fun non-conference schedule for Illinois basketball.
Yeah, like it was one of those for us, like you just kind of see the schools come out and it's kind of like in one ear out the other after you type it up and do what you need to do. But like we wrote this down before we recorded this and I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, this is a pretty stacked November and December. Like is it going to be pretty the whole time? No. Is it going to be fun? And are you going to be, if you're a fan, are you going to be a little mad at times? Yes. You might also get pretty excited at times. Like this is my 5th year, I think, covering. This is as fun of a non-conference as I've seen in my 5 years. I know you've got a lot more experience on that front than I do.
Date back to probably John Gross's first year. They had Maui, right? It's Gonzaga on that schedule. So they had some fun games there. But yeah, nothing quite like this. And the great thing about college basketball is you're still going to have 20-10 games if you do lose a majority of these non-conference games to make up for it. And losing basketball games really doesn't hurt you for the postseason, right? Like these only help your net. Like, so in basketball, I'm all in on scheduling as tough as possible, like Tom Izzo. I think it's great to learn early in the season. And it's been great for Michigan State. And then in football, hey, load it up with the non-conference with wins so you can get to the postseason because you're rewarded for that. So I love that Brad Underwood schedules this way, Joey.
I have one question for you. So let's say Missouri. Missouri is always going to be on the neutral side. I think it's better that way. So if you had to pick any of the 3 Vegas teams or Texas, which one would you most prefer to be at one of the 2 home venues?
And Baylor, because we ranked Baylor high. I kind of like that as a neutral. UCLA, man. I just think you bring in those colors, that program, and given what they're doing here recently under Mick Cronin, if you could bring UCLA to Champaign and then go back to Westwood, like that,
go back to California and we have a delightful time in Los Angeles.
That would be it. I keep saying UCLA for football, UCLA for basketball. I think Illinois is there again. I think let's schedule that. Let's do that. I am all about that because I mean UCLA still has that prestige. I think Cronin's bringing it back under Holland, and then of course, I mean their rich history before that, but they've had some pretty dang good runs, and they're still one of those that draws kind of an ooh and ah when they go to a place. So I'll go UCLA.
Yeah, and it'd be like a Saturday afternoon, Friday night.
Give me prime time.
Yeah, Friday night wouldn't make sense. Well, I don't know. It'd have to be a weekend game, right?
Either way, I'd be there, Joey. So and people will be watching. So I think we're okay.
Fair.
And we're going to cover all these games. We'll see which ones we go to. We'll cover all of it here at Illini Inquirer.